While I'm finishing up the chipping on this graze, so that I can move on to the next part of that video series, I thought I'd take a look at what I'm going to be doing after I finish the graze. I'm building a Star Wars Legion speeder truck. It's probably the most exciting name in the entire Star Wars universe. Now, for a Star Wars Legion kit, you actually get a pretty big pile of sprues. Most of their kits are just single figures or maybe some smaller vehicles. This one's a pretty good size, so you get a pretty good stack of screws. It's a sprues. It's a proper model kit. I know a lot of times people say they hesitate to build something that it's a gaming kit, which I don't really understand because it's still a model. But you get a nice pile of sprues, and I'll look at those in a minute. There's, of course, the base that goes on. You got a clear part. You got these gaming pieces and stuff here. Put that in the box, never see that again. And then, of course, their instruction sheet, which sometimes is not really helpful, but it's better than nothing. So it's a proper model kit. Now here you can see the parts breakdown. It's fairly conventional. There's an interior shell, side pieces, bottom, fore and aft. So that's fairly conventional. There's also a cockpit area that I'll be building. There's one figure that comes with it, the driver. Then there's an external shell that goes around that internal shell. And what I'll be doing for the Patreon video is showing the painting and the weathering and all of that of the interior, the figure, all of the interior stuff, and then getting it assembled, ready for painting. And then I'll actually do a YouTube video about painting and weathering the exterior. Now, just to have a look at some of the parts, these Star Wars Legion models, they have fairly exaggerated panel lines, but that's typical of tabletop gaming stuff, and I like that. It just makes working with them easier. But they're very, very sharply defined, very nicely detailed. They generally fit really well, and they're good kits. I really have found them to be some of my favorites. And you can see that, just all sorts of little greeblies and things like that. And of course, the beautiful thing about building anything Star Wars is that it invites adding more little greeblies and doodads and things to it, so that it just enhances the look. Like you see here you can see the roof of the interior, and I guess these are supposed to be lights. I always have fun when I paint lights on the ceiling, or maybe those are handles, I don't know. But when I paint lights on the ceiling of a vehicle, I always like to leave one or two out, because whenever you've got a whole bunch of lights, there's always one that seems like it's out. And that's the roof of it. That's where the gun mounts up. And more vents up here, plenty of places to provide weathering. And then there's some guns and some other things that you can stick inside of it. The interior's really detailed, so that's going to be a lot of fun to paint and to apply washes and weathering and stuff like that too, because I'm really going to see this as, okay, this is a well-used, well-worn vehicle, kind of like it was already worn and beat up when the rebels took it over to use it for their purposes, and then bringing it into combat only made it that much more beat up. Here's the underside of it, so there's parts you'll never see, but they still packed in the detail. Again, to me, that's just okay. I see fun. That's what I see, and because that's going to be fun to paint. And more of the interior, and just really cool. Whoops, don't fall over, guy. And there's the front and back walls, and then here's the side walls. They have it so that you can leave it with the doors open, or you can close them. I have no idea if I can do this, if the parts lend themselves to it, but I'm going to see if there's a way that I can magnetize the doors so that they can come on and off. That way that, hopefully if somebody eventually buys this, they'll be able to use it in gameplay or just use it as a display model and be able to look at the interior of it and see all the stuff. But yeah, it's really, really cool details in this thing. Now here you can see on the box top the completed model and how they've weathered it and done it like that. Mine, I'm planning on being a little more beat up than this, and I don't. I mean, maybe it's just choice, but usually you see these rebel vehicles have multicolored panels and stuff, even if it's just like color shifts. So I plan to take advantage of that. But this photo down here, you can see the art with the doors open. So I'm gonna see if I can figure that. If not, I may do. If you've ever watched Sarastro's video on building and painting this, I may do one open and one closed, and just leave it that way. But yeah, it's a pretty cool looking model, and the shape just invites just tons of weathering. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm thinking about, this is Canon stripes apparently, but I guess it's Canon because they did it. I may do something a little different. This did not appear, as I understand, this did not appear in any live action or anime, but rather is from a Canon video game. So it was something that I guess in the game was helping the Wookiees, and the Wookiees would ride around in it. I guess that's why on the cover of the box art you see a Wookiee there in the door. So, but all I care about is it's a cool looking vehicle that should be fun to build. After I filmed that previous bit, I was looking at the open doors and just sitting here thinking, what do I want to do with those? Open one, open two, nothing's open, magnetize them, whatever. And then a thought occurred to me. I has tiny soldiers. Now, specifically, I think this guy would look really good in the right door, kind of standing towards the back corner of it, facing forward, so that he can, kind of fire forward like that. And then this dude might look really good on the left door, and I could have him at either the front part of the door, the back part of the door, kind of leaning around a little bit, and just like he's shooting at something. Or I could have this one standing there like they're on the lookout. Same way with that one. And I might even be able to put one or two on the inside. And I thought about this commander looking dude, seeing if he would fit up in the cockpit like he was standing up there next to the driver, looking out and looking around and saying, "Hey, I think the danger is that way. Perhaps we should go another direction." So anyway, I think I may drop in a couple of minis in the doors, and that'll give them a reason both to be open, and I think it'll look kind of cool. That's the story that I'm telling myself, and I'm sticking to it. All right, it's been a few days since that last segment. I haven't been able to get started on this yet. Life and work are just coming at me fast. But I've been looking at, I talked about, magnetizing the doors, keeping them open, keeping them closed. I'm thinking what I may do is see how it would look with those figures, to see if it would work to have the lower part of the door closed and then the upper part open. So, for safety purposes, So when they're standing there shooting out of the door, or at least being on guard out of the door, it might make sense that, while they're moving to have the lower part of it done. I've got to pull out the doors and look at them. I may have to, there may be the opportunity to cut the door, make an intermediate cut along here and add the part that's cut off from here up here or something. I don't know. We'll see. But I started thinking about, I'm going to plan on spending a reasonable amount of time painting the interior, and I think it looks really cool. And then also, it'll be kind of difficult to mask, potentially to mask things off with the figures in there and hanging out the door and stuff like that. And then I got to thinking, the roof goes on separately, and I wonder if what I can do is either magnetize it, or if it will fit well enough, just leave it so that it can be put on and put off. So if somebody wants to see the inside, and that would also, if that works, I'm going to have to test fit it, but if it works, I can add the figures later. I can glue them in place later. And that would work all around. So that's something I'm thinking of that I've got to start, as I start assembling, that I've got to kind of test the theory. It's kind of neat because, there's going to be a lot of it that can be built. Most of the outer hull can be built in just components like this separately, because the inner part forms its own shell. So I'll be able to do assembly of the outer part, and then just bring it all together towards the end is the way it's looking. And I've also been kicking around. I'm probably not going to do it. I started thinking about, it might look cool, but one, I don't know that everyone would get the reference, and number two, I'm worried that it would kill its ability to be sold, because most people who buy the gaming pieces that I build buy them for gaming. And I think if I depart too far from canon in terms of paint and all of that, that it might not sell. And I mean, I hate to, it's the mercenary part of it. Part of the way I pay for the models is I sell the models I build. So, and that allows me to get more models. So anyway, I did have the idea, though, that it might be really cool to do a paint scheme like the A-Team's van for this thing. I even looked at it and thought, I wonder if I could put that, kind of tail fin thing on here, and then just put because you notice it's got the red stripe that originates back there, and then it comes down, and then the lower half is black, and the upper half is kind of a steely gray. I thought that might be cool. I doubt I'll work that in, but it did make me kind of laugh, especially if I could have made the figures on the inside look like the A-Team, So anyway, it's just one funny idea that was kicking around my head. All right, even though I'm going to be painting the interior for Patreon purposes, I thought I'd go ahead and get the exterior shell, each of the components assembled. Step one is the interior, and then you go on to step two, and that's where you get to either of the sides. Now, the sides are composed of this shell piece, and then this piece, and then a couple of door pieces. Because the doors, you can have them closed, or you can have them open. So I've got this piece in place. Now, the way they do the doors, the opening here, just use this, the opening here in this outer piece is quite a bit wider than the doors. They won't fit up to the side, but then the opening in this inner piece of the shell is a little smaller, so there's just a little bit of a lip that the door pieces can fit onto. And then if you want to have it open, they've got a little piece here along the bottom that kind of sets the angle if you want to have it open. So it's got something to prop up against, and you can get a good glue bond right there. But if you want it closed like I do, you put it here. I wasn't entirely sure how far it was intended to fit, whether it was supposed to go down completely over that lip, but be at kind of an angle or be a little more flat. A simple way to determine it is to just put this one on top. So I'll put that in first because there's this little beveled edge right up there. Put that in, get the upper door in place. Now I can use the upper door to set the angle of the lower door. And I can just put a little bit of glue along the bottom here, which will hold this in place, and then pop that out. And I've got my angle set. One of the things that I've never really understood, because I've seen it from both sides, is the traditional modelers' almost just complete rejection of what are essentially gaming pieces because, well, they're meant for a game. They're not a model. But I can tell you most definitely this is a model kit first. As I hold the sprues, as I use the parts, as I just look at the way it's engineered, I have to think that, because I know they use a company out of China to do their molding, I almost have to think it's the same company that does Trumpeter and Hobby Balls, because the parts, the feel, the engineering, the sprues, the fit, the way they do things, everything about it seems just like those models. And those are some really, really good models. Thing you can count on if you ever build a Trumpeter or a Hobby Balls kit, especially newer ones, is they have almost Tamiya-like fit. Almost, and sometimes exactly Tamiya-like fit. They have very good engineering and they have very, very poor accuracy research. But with these, it's all made up nonsense. So something to notice here on the engine. One, to talk about the model itself, but to make a case for this is just a good model kit. And I realized back when I was building nothing but airplanes, I would have looked at this and said, yeah, it's some kind of gaming thing. You know, that's not a serious modeler's kind of work there. This is serious modeling here. Anyway, the way this works is you've got these engine nozzles that go on here, and they show in the instructions that these hoses are supposed to be oriented up. This part is at the top. So, you know, for orientation purposes. The way they have it, you'll notice that right here, there's a little cutout, and right here, there's a little cutout. And that corresponds to a tab here and a tab here down at the bottom. And then you'll also notice that on this hose there is a cutout there. And then you'll notice that here there are some little tabs there. So this goes on first, and the fit is just, I mean, it's just spot on. I mean, there's no, it's just perfect. And then this goes over that, and you see how it fits right up over the little tabs there. And then this one goes right here like that. Good positive fit. It's not loose, it's not wobbly. It still needs to be glued, but it makes for a really detailed little engine assembly, exhaust assembly. And got some nice detail up under there. And it's just a really, really well engineered model. Need to clean that nub off, don't I? Just a really well engineered model. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and glue this piece on. This one doesn't get in the way, but these two pieces I'm going to leave off until later in the process so that I can get down in there and paint those. I'm going to try and do these like I saw Sarastro do, where he used some white and some blue to have a really bright glow effect coming out of the engines, and then a little bit of OSL, a little bit of object source lighting coming onto the other parts around there. So we'll see if I can pull that off. But if nothing else, these Star Wars Legion kits are excellent models. Forget whether they're a gaming piece. I continue to be really impressed with the engineering on this kit. I've always liked the Star Wars Legion kits, the engineering and the fit and all of that, but this one is really just special. Here's the bottom part, and glued these on, and I mean the fit is just perfect, and love the detail up under there. So that's going to be a good opportunity to just mess things up. One of the ways you can tell when a kit is really well engineered is if, when you're putting parts on, if there's the least little nub left, just the tiniest nub, then the parts don't fit quite perfectly. And that's how it is on this kit. And if you do just the least little bit of over sanding of the nubs, then it does the same thing. Like if you see the couple of little cracks right there, that's from me over sanding the nubs just slightly. Now I can fix that with some Mr. Surfacer. I can probably just clamp it down to glue it. It's not a problem, but it just shows how tight the tolerances are on the way the parts fit together. Yet the way they do all of these little, this has these holes and that corresponds with those and they fit in there. And then when you put this on top, those go right through it. So everything just fits very, very positively together. And again, if you look at this and go, oh, that's just a game piece, it's not a legit model, I'm telling you, this is a legit model. This, you may as well just call this a floating armored personnel carrier. That's what it is. So anyway, continuing on with the build, but I just thought, okay, I got to point this out. This is just too cool to overlook. Now this antenna part goes right here. There's two ways to do this. You can either glue it on now and just go ahead and break it off ahead of time so you'll get that done with, or you can leave it off and put it in the parts box and then try to remember to glue it on at the end. That's what I'm going to do, because I know I'll break that doggone thing off. All right, I assembled the guns. They call this the quad laser, and this is the heavy laser retrofit. 1 barrel, 4 barrels. You tell me. 4 pew-pews is better than 1 pew-pew. Trust me. Anyway, beforehand I was thinking, okay, will it be good to, is this something I should magnetize? What? But when I test fit it, they fit in there so positively that I'll just be able to just leave them in there dry, and if whoever the eventual buyer is, I'll just send them along and they can fit in whichever one they want and stay in place pretty good. So yeah, these are pretty cool. I like that one. Remember, the more pew-pew, the better. Here's a dry fit of the assembled interior, most of it, not the cockpit, but the assembled interior and exterior shell pieces. And my main thing here is to see, can the roof just be put on and off? And it can. So it looks like that plan will work. Cool. All right, I've got the interior assembled mostly. I started off using Mr. Color or Mr. Surfacer 1000, the gray variety, and painted the little dude here. And he looks like to me like he's going, "Hey, somebody help me across the road." Anyway, the Mr. Surfacer was exactly the same color as the plastic. And it's kind of difficult when I started spraying the other parts to really see, did I get it on there? So I added just a touch of Mr. Surfacer Black to the mix, which made it show up a little better. You can see this was the part that I kind of transitioned it on because it's a little lighter up here, and then it gets darker, and then everything else is the darker color. And I want to be painting over it, so I just wanted a primer. So it didn't really matter that there's some slightly different colors to all of it. Just some things, if you build this, to think about. Don't forget to do the doors. Come on, baby, light my fire. Not those doors. Sorry. You know, those will need to be painted when the interior is painted, whether they're closed or open. Have to be accounted for. And then there's also back this area here that I realized I'll need to paint before I do any, close everything up, just to make it easy to get to. I have to see if that ejector pin mark is going to be seen. I may just leave it and not worry about it. Now, just a little bit of the logic. I glued this center console in place because I didn't think that would be difficult to account for when I'm weathering and chipping, and because I'm planning on really making this thing look used. But I didn't think this would be in the way. I left off the main control console. It fits right there, and it can be added in later. And I did leave that off so that I can paint and weather that without any problems. Same thing with the seats. I went ahead and assembled them, but left them off so that they can be painted and dealt with separate from the floor. I glued those. I went ahead and glued. They give you some extra guns to put in that weapons rack back there, and I just put those in there. That'll be easy to paint. That's not going to be a big deal, so I didn't need to keep those separate. One thing I did do that I thought about a little bit before I decided to do it. They give you a full door. Here's the other half of it. They give you a whole door, and you can either put it in, because these are two parts, and the door is sandwiched between them, and they've got a cutout on the inside that's roughly the same shape as the door. The door is a little larger than the cutout, and then there's an indent in there, and you put the door on one side, glue these together, and like I said, you can have it either open or closed. Well, I thought about I wanted it to be open, so I thought about, I was just going to leave it out, but I thought I want to suggest that there is a door there, and that, it can move into the wall. It moves back and forth. So what I did was I just cut it along. When it was together, there was, of course, a panel line on both sides where this circle was. So I just used that panel line as a guide and cut it right there so that it would only be partially open, maybe even to suggest that it's like mid-open or mid-close. And then because the cutout that the door goes in is the same shape as the door, it wasn't square, what I did was, once I had it cut out, of course, on this part of the door, the edges were square like that. So what I did was I flipped this over and held the two together so that this kind of formed a cutting template for where the squared off part of the other side of the door was, and I just used my nippers to cut it out and then sand it along there, and fit perfect. It's kind of a little bit crooked, but I don't think it's really going to matter once it's inside. That's what I keep telling myself. But I just thought that would give it a little more detail, just kind of a nice, hopefully, kind of an interesting touch that the door is partially open. Maybe it's broken or something. Who knows? You know how I am about doing stuff so the viewer can look at it and decide what the story is. What I did find interesting was the doors have, not the band, the doors, these, anyway, I guess they're on my mind. They have these little buttons on here, but you would think that if the button is on this side here, it would be on this side here, but it's not. And it just kind of struck me funny that the button for this part of the door is here. So the way it was designed was it was like this. And so if the door, depending on which way it slides, or if it's completely slides in, one side would never have the button visible. I guess maybe that's what some of these other buttons are for, but it just struck me funny because I'm like, even if it halfway open, somebody's not going to have the ability to open or close the door. So, whatever. But all of these, I'll paint, and I'm planning on really painting as much detail into this thing as I can. With all those little greeblies and things inside, there's just too much that it's inviting. Hey, paint this thing. So I'm planning on really painting it. I thought about adding some additional parts, and it would have been easy to do some additional wiring and stuff like that. But I know me, I quickly get bored with that, and usually very quickly get to a point where I'm like, I don't like that. Why did I do this? So I just left it like it is, Know, what is it? Know thyself. So I know me. I'm not big on modifications. So anyway, it's ready to paint and get to work on the interior. Now I'm going to stop this video here. One, because I want to get y'all a video out this week. I try to do one every week if I can, and if I miss it, I apologize, but I try to get one out every week for patrons. And my original intent when I started this was I'm actually off camera working on the chipping for the grays, because there's quite it takes a little while to get it done, but I was in the middle of doing it, and I just got a little bored with it, and so I thought, well, hey, why don't I put that aside, pull this out, and just film like the first part of talking about the kit and my plans for it, then put it all back in the box, set it aside, continue on with the grays. Well, I started having so much fun, just kind of playing around with this, that I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and do an entire episode of the first part of this. So it may be a few more weeks before you see the continuation of this, because I want to get back to the grays. I've had enough time away from it that now I'm like, oh, I want to get back to that. So this is just kind of a accidental video. I've done those before, though, so you understand. But again, this is a super fun model kit, and I emphasize that again. It is a model kit. So if you're looking at things and you're saying, well, but it's a gaming piece, it's a model kit. Yeah, you can play it in the game. Yeah, it's got a base to it. Yeah, it comes with little cards and counters and things, that you play in the game. But if you're going to put it on your shelf and you like Star Wars stuff, this is a cool Star Wars vehicle. So I highly recommend this one or any of the others that they do. Although I will say, I've not built the Star Wars Legion ATST or their Snowspeeder. I've seen pictures of them online. I've seen the parts with my own eyes. They look really, really good. However, if you want to build an ATST or a Snowspeeder, get the Bandai kit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Legion kit, but Bandai is just better. Star Wars Legion kit, double cheeseburger. Bandai kit, double cheeseburger with double bacon. I mean, it's just that much better. So, if you can get it, and usually the Bandai kits are cheaper. One big thing with the Bandai kit for the Snowspeeder is the Star Wars Legion kit does not have an interior, whereas the Bandai kit has a full interior, very detailed interior. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can look up Snowspeeder, and I've got a build of both a Snowspeeder and a ATST. So, and on my blog, I think I've got blogs about building them before I was even doing videos. So, good stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling now, so I'll call this done. And this portion of this video, and the next one, I will get to painting the interior. We'll see if it'll be one or two videos, maybe more. over the next few weeks, just to kind of give you a heads up, if you're still watching this far, and I know who's going to be watching, so anyway, just to give you a heads up, today I'm filming this. It is October 28th. It's the Saturday. It's the last Saturday in October. We will be going to. We finally got everything sorted out after my father-in-law's death, and he passed away, heart attack. He was 85 years old. We finally got everything sorted away. Lots of difficulties involved with that. Unfortunately, we got it sorted away. I will be gone November 8th, leaving November 8th. The funeral is on November 10th. We will be back November 12th. There may not be a video that weekend. If I have time, I may shoot something ahead of time. But there may be a little bit of wonkiness during that time, and I'll post something in text so all patrons will see it. But I'll be doing that, and I know you guys understand, so I appreciate that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's what we'll be doing upcoming. So enough ramble. Cool kit. Give it a try if you're interested in it. And as always, thank you so much for being a patron. It is a blessing to me, and it's a blessing to my family. And we are very grateful for your support. So you know the deal. You're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. I mean it. I really mean it. So happy day to you, friends. Bye-bye.